Hey guys, it's me, Natalie. I'm here taking over Arman's channel this week. I'm here to review episodes 3 and 4 of Yappie. I told Arman to take a break because, he's been working a lot lately, so it's all on me this week. Episodes 3 and 4 is Affinity Wars and Homeostasis, which is about when Andrew gets the opportunity to plan the Asian American Pacific Heritage something month plans at his,
all right, see, that's where I gotta stop you.
Homeostasis.
That's where I gotta stop you, man. You don't even remember what the whole thing stands for, so we're gonna have to do this one together.
All right, I guess we're here to roast me.
Yeah, so now she's not alone, guys. I wouldn't do that. For one thing, this is my channel, so I'm of course gonna be in every single video. What's going on? Me and Nat are back at it again for the second video of our review on Yappie. Like she said, episode 3 and 4, Affinity War and Homeostasis.
They're pretty big episodes, pretty important.
Yeah,
and they spark a lot of really good conversations.
And apparently she wasn't showing what we learned in episode 3 was Asians working together. She took over the channel for just like a second and then trying to, so...
It's me, I'm a bulldozer.
Yeah. Episode 3 was something that I felt what had to be said, because what a lot of people don't get is that it's very hard to group us all under one term of being Asian, because we all have very different cultures. Therefore, we had very different struggles here in America. We all don't look the same, just based off of that. I mean, look at me and Nat. We don't look the same at all.
Yep.
And
I'm Chinese, he's Filipino.
Yeah. So, and we both have very different cultures. That's why it was very interesting to see this play out in a work setting, because that work setting is trying to represent how the whole group of us in America, and that we should work together to celebrate each other in the different ways that we are. The topic of this episode, like we said, was that Asians are always pitted against Asians a lot, especially North Asians versus Southeast Asians. With episode 3, they were saying that for us, it's a little different because each ethnicity has had a different kind of struggle, which is one of the reasons why we don't work together as well. In the episode, the Korean engineer group wanted their own thing, so did the Filipinos, Indians.
So they do have a good point about the conversation at the end about when there is a successful Asian, all of us kind of claim them.
That's true.
So that's kind of where we do come together with the whole Yao Ming, Jeremy Lin, Apollo Anton Ono. When there's somebody from one specific group that's successful, that's when we at least all come to support them. So we have something going for us.
That's true.
But we could be doing a little bit more to be working together.
And yeah, actually we started to see that a little more today with the release of Crazy Rich Asians, which happened a few weeks ago. And every Asian group has now suddenly started to unite in support of that movie. It's good to see that because, not every Asian is represented in that movie, but if the movie does well, which it has, it gives everybody else the opportunity to showcase their own story, which is what we all wanted in the first place, which is also what Yappie was made for as well. Episode 3 was a huge part of that Asians should work together, but there's a couple of smaller things that I felt that we wanted to touch on. There's a part where Andrew's boss, she was white, she was trying very tiptoey around the subject of race. I wanted to bring this up because I feel like while a lot of racism in history does come from them, people today, I can assume that most of them aren't malicious, they aren't racist. They get the retaliation from minorities all the time, and they have to be very, very careful about how they talk about race. One point that I wanted to bring up is that not every bad experience with a person of a race is going to represent everybody else in that race.
Right. It's the whole thing about, if you don't want other people to think that Yao Ming is the only Chinese person to represent all of China, then, Sally down the street isn't the only white girl to represent every single white girl in the world.
Right, and I feel that for white people in particular, they have to be very careful with what they say, and which is represented through how Andrew's boss was talking to him.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought I was being more sensitive.
More sensitive to what?
Oh, to your different cultures.
I feel bad for them sometimes because, yeah, they have to be very careful with what they say so they don't come off as racist, but then white people have a good privilege in America, let's just put that there. A lot of other people may not believe that, but there is some backlash that they do face. I want to make that clear. There is a lot of backlash that they face, which a lot of them aren't even trying to perpetuate in the first place.
I don't know if this is going to come up as too PSA-ish, but if you wouldn't feel comfortable having somebody say it to you, then you maybe shouldn't say it to somebody else. But if you do need to know this one thing, you just have to think about how you're coming off, because the person that you're asking has dealt with it for their entire life and they're probably sick of hearing it. So even if, you know, you are just genuinely curious, you have to be aware that they might not be comfortable talking about that.
Right, and it really depends on how you come off. It's very much your tone and how you word it.
I'm gonna cut you off for another hot second.
Go ahead.
The reverse PSA for the people of color is that white people are genuinely just curious and they want to be better. As I said, we've dealt with this our whole life. So like if they crack open the door on that conversation, don't punch it down. Just remember that like they're actually just trying to hopefully understand. Remember that somebody else might not be ready for that all at once.
We kind of went off in a tangent a little bit, but we actually touched up on some stuff that we were going to mention for episode 4. Episode 3 ends with the party finally being put together, which is cool. A little joke at the end that I always find funny is that when they're done taking a picture, he shows off the Korean engineers group sponsored by sign. I just felt that was pretty funny and pretty realistic. Episode 3 was great. Some of the stuff we were touching on kind of leads into episode 4, which is actually a huge thing in the Asian community and Wong Fu specifically, because they were known for these 2 videos, which was Yellow Fever, which is what Homeostasis is kind of trying to talk about. The episode starts off with a happy ending pickup line that this white guy tried on an Asian girl. This is something that I don't have any experience with because you know, I'm an Asian guy. But I'm pretty sure Nat was telling me earlier, like on our last couple of shoots, she was telling me a couple of stories about how this actually happened to her. So, and I was pretty surprised.
Yeah. Luckily, it hasn't happened to me too much. I know it's happened to other Asian women a lot more. The most recent one I had at my friend's birthday, we went out to this bar and this guy, he just kind of like asked my name. So I'm like, Natalie. And he's like, oh wow, you said that really good. Natalie. And I was like, I'm in Brooklyn right now. What? How? Of all places, you're gonna think that I don't speak English because this?
You told me this story a couple of times already, and I'm still surprised every time you tell me it. Just to hear that actually happen in real life, it's so foreign to me because, you know, I've never had that happen.
It's surprising when it happens to me too.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know if it's because the areas we live in, because I've never seen that happen in California.
But you would think we're both in pretty progressive states.
Yeah,
and pretty progressive areas of the states too. So it's weird that that still happens.
Yeah, and what I wanted to bring this back to was the whole thing with the fetishization. I don't know if I said that right, but I'm not even gonna try right now.
They know what you mean.
So that's one thing that I have no experience in, and that's actually, it took me a while to believe that it actually happened. And when I really thought about it after we spoke on it a few times, fetishization, sorry guys, versus preference. There really is a difference between the two. Everyone has a preference, you know, nothing wrong with that. You know, you have a preference for maybe a different ethnicity, a different race, and you know, hey, that's just you. But when it starts to go a little extreme for that's the sole reason you're dating somebody, then that's where it gets a little weird.
Like there's a difference between liking an Asian versus liking somebody with black hair.
Yeah, exactly. Preference and that word, I'm not even gonna try anymore. They're on the same. They have the same idea. It's just one is way more extreme than the other. One of the things that I think a lot of people are starting to notice is the differences between the female and male perspective in the Asian community. Asian women are always seen as sexy, exotic, and then for the guys, they're all usually seen as weak, unattractive, never really being sexy. So I feel like that's something media needs to change the balance on.
Yappie and Crazy Rich Asians are trying to do that, and then Searching is coming out, so hopefully we're taking our baby steps up that way.
Yeah, you know, us as a group, a community, we're doing that ourselves, but we want Hollywood to notice that also.
Yeah, the people in power need to take that incentive or that initiative to recognize us as, on both ends of it, as like just human beings. Because it's funny, like, I know that a lot of Asian guys say this about the whole, like, we want to be fetishized a little bit more, but it sounds like so weird to me because it's just like, you want to be like objectified like that? You want people to just see you as like a thing that they can have? But then like, I get it that, you know, you haven't gotten that attention ever because this bit of media has always been like, oh, there goes the nerd.
So one of the things I wanted to bring up about the series, and especially this episode in particular, is that a lot of minorities don't give white guys the benefit of the doubt when they find out that they're in a relationship with a different race. So it's like with Brett, I felt a little bad for him because, you know, he's getting attacked like, oh, you know, you have yellow fever, you're only dating this girl because she's Asian. When you see in the show that they actually are kind of meant for each other. He had mostly Asian friends when he was growing up, and she had mostly white friends when she was growing up. So it kind of makes sense that they're together. But for a lot of people on the outside of that relationship, they're only going to see like, oh, he's dating her because, you know, Asian girls love white men. I don't think that's true because to me personally, I have 2 cousins who were in relationships with white guys, and those guys are very They're very well-meaning. They love them for who they are. So I just think that Yappie could have touched on this side of things a little bit more than just comedic relief.
Maybe next season they will, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, I get it. It's only 5 episodes and you can only put so much into each episode. Like, this one was 20 minutes already. So hopefully they touch on it a little more, because I feel like our white guys aren't getting the benefit of the doubt when it comes to this kind of thing, you know, and I feel like they do deserve that.
Everybody deserves understanding.
Yeah, exactly.
When Brett kind of tries to fix the offset, when that was intercut with Melody's scene at the bar, I loved how they both played off each other, and they were both both scenes were like answering each other in a way where, like,
yeah,
Melody and the other white guy, they were talking about like fetishization versus preference, and then the double date scene was essentially that, but like happening in real life. So I thought that was really cool and funny. I just liked how throughout all of these episodes, it still balanced the like the seriousness and then like the Wong Fu style of comedy and then like back and forth. So I thought that was really well balanced.
I think so too. It was one thing I did want to bring up about Melody's scene was it's funny because a lot of Asian women, or just women in particular, they don't want to be fetishized, of course. But when they start to realize, like the scene that they were playing off of, that the guy was actually not interested in her, she took a little bit of offense to it.
Matter of fact, I'm not really into Asian girls.
It's kind of funny to see her get a little irritated with the fact that he wasn't interested in her, really. This episode was pretty good. I really liked it. And the ending was something that I really loved. Andrew comes back to Kalina's apartment, and they start to discuss, like, does Andrew really like her for who she is, or it's just because she's black, and something very new to him. You could tell just by how they're acting is that he likes her for who she is. They both love the same kind of stuff, and when they were both singing Usher's Take It Slow, I really enjoyed that, because, you know, it's I love that 90s and early 2000s R&B, so there's a nice touch at the end, especially with the piano melody to end off the episode. So
yeah, and it was heartwarming.
Yeah, definitely.
It brings it back, like, I don't know if you kind of felt the same way, but like you get so into the racial conversation side of things, but then they bring it back to the whole character story and the character arcs. So I think it was a good kind of reminder that we're just watching a TV show. So like it's important to have these conversations, but also enjoy the story.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a really good like tie-in at the end.
Yeah, I think it was. This episode had a lot of good balance between the character-driven stories and, you know, the issues of race. It was a nice way to end the episode on something like that, on a character-driven moment.
Maybe I want it to be something more.
Maybe I do too.
Like we said earlier, if you want to see more of us, just check out our Instagrams in the info box below. Leave a comment on what you think of the episode, or what you think of our review on the episode.
But be nice to me. This is my first time on YouTube.
Yeah, guys, do be nice. She's cool. She's actually a filmmaker, so she has a lot more experience than I do. So
Arman's got all the YouTube experience, so he's teaching me stuff. But anyway, long story short, we're both here working together, as all of you other Asians should. So let's all grow together.
Anyways, guys, we'll catch you on our next and last video for this Yappie series topic on episode 5. We'll catch you then. Otherwise, see you later. Bye.
Yes, I'm outside.